क्या करना है? Thank you again for joining us in the last but very, very important session of the 11th Indian Social Work Congress here at Maulana Azad National Urdu University, Hyderabad. Just to carry forward the lessons, friend, that we had deliberated over the last 3 years in this conference, there are quite interesting, deliberations, discussions took place throughout 3 days. So I, on behalf of the Department of Social Work, once again welcome you all in this auditorium. That is the valedictory session of this Congress. Just to refresh the things again, that this 11th Indian Social Work Congress 2023 was organized by the Department of Social Work, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, and National Professional Association of Professional Social Workers in India, in collaboration and partnership with the United Nations Population Fund, India. Friends, today we have Today we have Professor Surinder Jaswal with us, who is who will deliver her valedictory address. And so I'll just share the details and the dignitaries, the list of the dignitaries who will be here. Professor Sanjay Bhatt and Professor Sanjay Roy, who is the guest of honor today, and he is also the Vice President of National Association of Professional Social Workers in India. We have Dr. Ajay Khera, who is country representative of in gender health. He's a guest of honor. Professor Surinder Jaswal, as I said, is a professor, School of Social Work. Please. Dr. Nilesh Deshpande, Program Specialist, United Nations Population Fund, India. For the presidential remarks, I invite Professor Shagufta Shaheen, OSD 1, Maulana Azad National Urdu University. Thank you very much. Now I invite Professor Muhammad Shahid Raza, Professor, Department of Social Work, to please welcome. I invite Professor Muhammad Shahid Raza to please welcome our guest dignitaries here.
Good afternoon to all of you. Actually, many of the things already said by Abu Osama. Just I have to formally welcome all these dignitaries, one who is in the dais or of the dais. Before going to formal welcome, I would like to say something about this university. Maulana Azad National University was established in 1998. It is dual mode university. There is two type of program. One of them is distance mode, another one is regular mode. This university has 24 departments, 7 schools, and 9 centers. This university is providing 97 programs, particularly PhD, 25 PhD programs, as well as 27 master programs. This university is spread all over India, 13 states we cover, and number of colleges of our universities in different parts of India, particularly ITI college, polytechnics, BEd colleges are there. And distance mode, there are number of students, around about, I think, 1 lakh students is there. Inside the campus, more than 5,000 students are residing. So, formally, I'm going to welcome for this valedictory sessions. There are 2 guests of honor, 1 chief guest, and 1 Professor Surendra Madam. Jaswal Madam will provide valedictory address. So first, I would like to welcome chief guest, Dr. Nilesh Deshpande. He is a national program specialist, adolescent and youth, who is at a UNFPA. I welcome you, sir, here this valedictory session. We have 2 guests of honor. First one is Dr. Ajay Khera sir. He is country representative at Engendered Health, India. I welcome you, sir, for this program. And the second guest of honor is Professor Sanjay Rai, who is the head of the Department of Social Work, Delhi University, as well as Vice President of NAPSWI, for which we are coming here today. I am going to welcome senior most social work educator or eminent social work educator, Professor Surendra Jaswal Madam. I welcome you, Madam, for this valedictory session for addressing us in terms of valedictory address. Our OSD Madam, Professor Shagufta Shaheen Madam, I also welcome you too for this program. And probably Sanjay Bhatt sir is sitting here. I welcome you also, sir. You are immediate past president of NAPSWI. On the behalf of Department of Social Work and 11th Indian Social Work Congress, once again, I welcome you all, dignitaries on the dais, those who come from far away from Hyderabad and stayed for 3 days, and you make this program successful. Once again, you welcome for this program. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now this is the time to felicitate our guests today. For this, I would request Professor Shagufta Shaheen to please present a memento to Professor Surendra Jaswal. Thank you. Now I request Professor Shahid Raza to present a memento to the chief guest, Dr. Nilesh Deshpande. Thank you. Now I would request Professor Muhammad Shahid to please welcome and present the memento to our guest of honor, Dr. Ajay Khera. Now I request Professor Atul Pratap Singh to please welcome and present the memento to Professor Sanjay Rai, who is our guest of honor today. Friends, NAPSWI is also grateful to the United Nations Population Fund and duly acknowledge their support in terms of financial support and as well as the intellectual support to the 11th Indian Social Work Congress. So on behalf of NAPSWI, I am requesting Professor Sanjay Bhatt to please present a certificate of appreciation to present a certificate of appreciation to Dr. Nilesh Deshpande on behalf of NAPSWI. Thank you. Now again, so from the side of NAPSWI, I request again Professor Sanjay Bhatt to please present a certificate of appreciation to Professor Muhammad Shahid, the Organizing Secretary, 11th Indian Social Work Congress.
Thank you for your all hard work. Thank you.
Professor Sanjay Bhatt, sir, please. I invite you, please come and say something and about the way forward from here. Okay. Professor Sanjay Bhatt is a conference advisor, immediate past president, and the whole and soul of NAPSWI. Thank you.
Thank you, Abu. Esteemed guest on the dais and participants of this 11th Indian Social Work Congress. As I said in the inaugural function, that Indian Social Work Congress purpose is to bring social work educators, principals, administrators on one platform and to discuss and deliberate on the issues of the concern. The Leave No One Behind is a very important to the social work profession because both philosophies are similar. So we thought that we will make our commitment to this theme. And first of all, I will be very happy to inform you that MANUU, the Department of Social Work, a very small department, but a very beautiful department and a very good organizer. They have provided a lot of intellectual food and very good food also. So thanks to your team for doing this justice. And rest, I think as a research conference advisor, I accept all the follies in this Congress. I'm really, whatever you have faced any inconvenience, as an advisor, I must accept that this is because of me. Thank you very much. And last, I am very happy to inform that we have in a beginning of a new partnership with the UNFPA. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, I humbly request Professor Sanjay Roy, who is Vice President of National Association of Professional Social Workers in India, who is a guest of honor today for this valedictory session. So please come and share a few words with us, sir. Thank you. Sorry, missed. Just okay. Just missed one thing. Report. Sorry. So there is. I just moved away. Sorry. I invite Dr. Muhammad Aftab Alam from Department of Social Work just to present the brief report of 11th Indian Social Work Congress. I am really sorry for this inconvenience.
Thank you, Dr. Sama, for this invite.
I have a strict instruction to present this report within 10 minutes. And for the organizers, for the last 10 days, 10 minutes means 9 minutes and 60 seconds. So I will try to complete it within time. Chief guest of the session, other colleagues off and on the stage, and dear participants. I'm going to read the report. After the completion of 11th Indian Social Work Congress 2023, I, on the behalf of the organizing team at MANUU, NAPSWI, and our collaborating partner UNFPA, presenting this report of 11th Indian Social Work Congress 2023. Although I am presenting this report, but the efforts of the volunteers and recorders who judiciously recorded all the sessions must also be recognized, appreciated, and recorded. With its beginning in 2013 at the Department of Social Work, University of Delhi, it traveled through a number of social work institutions, cities, and states. This time it is our great pleasure and honor that the NAPSWI has decided to organize this conference here at MANUU. And with the constant opinion and advice, especially from Professor Sanjay Bhatt and NAPSWI team and many others, we managed to do it. By this collaboration with full liveliness and passion, we once again proved our mutuality and interconnectedness and tied with the single garment of destiny to achieve social justice and human well-being. At the same time, such events and emotional connects give us an opportunity for self-purification. In terms of reaffirming the social work values, reaching to the majestic height of understanding our role to serve the last man and deviating from the pursuits of intellectual academic pursuit to come down to the ground zero to count and reflect on the actual sufferings. I am referring this self-purification, the Martin Luther King, which is needed before direct action. Through this process of reaffirmation and self-purification, taking a note from the preamble of our Indian Constitution, we, the members of the whole social work fraternity, gives ourselves a number of way forwards in terms of what we are teaching and what we should teach, ascribe or created knowledge, what we are practicing and what we should practice, adopted or evolved through practice, redefining the destiny of social work profession by debating indigenization and push for localism, whether to pursue global standards or change the local realities, whether to serve the state's interests only or work for the common good. These and many more takeaways from this conference for the social work educators, practitioners, research scholars, students, and all of us to try for the motto, no one leave behind. To deliberate and discuss on the theme of the 11th Indian Social Work Congress 2023, no one leave behind, revisiting pedagogy and practice of social work in India, and to search for the answer of many good old unresolved questions around professional status of social work, its indigenous base and future of social work. There are around 30 eminent scholars were invited from different schools of social work, and around 389 participants got registered, and total number of around 500 took part in this Congress from all over the country, including students, research scholars, educators, and practitioners engaged in different fields of development. Further, 3 plenary sessions and 2 special sessions were organized where invited speakers deliberated on different themes, which include social work pedagogy and pedagogical challenges, youth intervention in institutional and community settings, and from social work curriculum to practice. Apart from these sessions, special technical sessions, 18 special technical sessions were scheduled, in which around 230 presenters presented their papers in and around 5 sub-themes of this Congress. Further, 2 workshops and 2 round table discussions were also conducted. The keynote address is given by Professor S.M. Sajid from Jamia Millia Islamia on the theme Social Work Curriculum and Pedagogy Challenges in Contemporary Times. Dr. Sri Ram Haridas, Deputy Representative UNFPA India, was the chief guest of the inaugural session. The inaugural session is presided over by the Professor Syed Anul Hassan, Vice Chancellor MANUU. In addition, 3 pre-conference lectures are organized where Professor Bridge Mohan from Louisiana State University, USA, Dr. P.M. Garrett from University of Galway, Ireland, and Dr. Chris Clark from University of Helsinki, Finland, were invited online. Listening to them, giving a sense of feeling that whatever we are doing here in India in the name of social work is meager, and the actual social work lies beyond this boundary. We are so political and marching towards the state order as hardly a paper in this Congress talk mention about what is happening in India, especially with minority and their dehumanization, and global human crisis in Ukraine and Palestine. As we all know and believe that injustice anywhere is threat to justice everywhere. Apart from these mainstream, so-called mainstream academic activities to talk on pedagogical and practice front, there are many cultural events are organized like Kawali, the Stangoi, Kuchipudi dance to rejuvenate and revive the human and spiritual connects, and to strengthen and redefine the connect between students and teacher. A student forum is placed where both pillars come together. Professor Keshav Walke, Professor Nina Pandey, Mr. Sunil Vatsyan, and Madam Ankita Singh interacted with the students. This year, NAPSWI has conferred Lifetime Achievement Award to 5 most accomplished social work educators and practitioners whose contribution means a lot immense to us and the social work profession. These eminent personalities are Professor Noor Muhammad, Dr. Sudarshan Pasuleti, Professor Rajkumar Singh, Professor S.R. Bilore, and Mrs. Sachi Singh. The book release function is also organized where 3 books were released written by Dr. Ajit Kumar Pankaj, Dalit Migrants, Assertion, Emancipation and Social Change, Dr. Srinivasa D, Social Group Work, and Dr. Rahul Kapoor, Feminist and Ferocious Women Student Activists in Contemporary India. These are the activities organized. At the end, I would say, we hope that all of us must have enjoyed this academic rousing and cultural connects. Thank you very much to all. To announce Best Paper Award. So this Best Paper Award is selected out of blind review, or one paper is given to 2 blind reviewers, and on the basis of evaluation, we have selected 5 out of around 50 received at the limit at the time it was set. I mean the last date of the submission. We selected only those who are researchers, I mean the PhD scholars or students, not included the teachers and all. So I'm announcing the name of the students who can come forward, and before that I request all of you people, madam and sir, please come forward and give the certificates. Okay. Vishal Mishra, Mr. Vishal Mishra, please come forward. Abhinay. Okay, yes, it is there. Rosna Vicent. Yes. The title is Leave No One Behind, the Birds Institution Kerala Model for Integrating Individuals with Intellectual and Development Disabilities into the Community. Athira VH, Generational Care in Indigenous Communities, a study of grandmother raising grandchildren in indigenous belt Kerala. Sumaya Rashid, ineffectiveness of current social audit. You will be given, you all recipient of the best paper award will be given 5,000 rupees as a matter of, as a token of appreciation to all those who have received the award. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Aftab. As mentioned in the report that we also had parallel roundtable discussions. So now I would like to, I would request, in fact, Professor P.K. Shahjahan, who was the chair of the one of the roundtable discussion, that was the national and global and national mandates revisiting the curriculum. Sorry. So, revisiting the NAPSWI definition, he was the chair of that roundtable discussion. So, I invite, please come and share the resolution of the roundtable discussion. Thank you.
I'm really happy to be part of this even wonderful NAPSWI conference, and really a great appreciation for the MANUU team. I've been asked to finish everything in 1 minute. So I will just say that the definition, the NAPSWI definition 2018, which was adopted earlier, was being revisited. Several revisions have been suggested by different members. However, it was decided that a collective exercise will be done in this conference, where we are going to redefine or revise the existing definition. Today, at this point in time, we are not able to give you the definition which is arrived at, because the discussion has been very enriching, and capturing all of those things and getting the written statement from each of the members was difficult to be concluded at this stage in time. But what we have agreed upon in revising the definition is what I am going to present on behalf of the entire committee. We definitely wanted the definition is to be of Indian social work profession. So particularly bringing Indian multicultural context in which the practice of social work is located in. It should be very concise, value-based, and exactly drawing the source of knowledge of professional social work is to be exercised very clearly in this definition. So it will also be the key features of the definition which we have discussed, without giving the specific definition at this point in time, is that the definition of Indian social work should be responsive to the social realities. That's one of the very key dimensions which we have brought out. It should be firmly rooted in the values of dignity, equality, social justice, and non-discrimination. The profession should practice the practice in a form which is people-centered and humane. So that's a broad premise in which the practice of social work should be located in. Social cohesion and in the multicultural context has to be the central theme around which, at the same time, we need to be responsive to the ecological crisis, where ecological sustainability will also become one of the key factors. So we will be coming out with the definition, incorporating all of these things, drawing from the knowledge base, drawing from the value base, and also looking at what will be the broad vision of the society we would like to come out with. The process we have decided is that the small committee will work out and prepare a draft document and circulate it to all members. And in 2 months, we will give it to all members across the country and even otherwise. And we will take opinion from them, and we will come out with a definition after 2 months. And then we will publish this as a NAPSWI definition of Indian social work profession. Thank you very much for the cooperation by all members.
Thank you, Professor P.K. Shahjahan. The next roundtable discussion was held on the topic Global and National Mandates, Revisiting Social Work Curriculum. It was the second roundtable discussion. Now I invite Professor Mohammad Shahid to share the resolution of that roundtable discussion.
Thank you. On behalf of the chair of the roundtable discussion on revisiting social work curriculum, Professor Zubair Mingai, I have to just submit that before the conference, this working group, they have online discussion and all, but we know curriculum cannot be decided in one roundtable, and that's how the resolution of the Congress is. The roundtable is that the group will further go on, they will have further discussion, particularly in light of the opportunities and the challenges of NEP, because that offers us an opportunity of designing new kind of courses in light of global mandates like 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, in light of mandates like ICPD mandate, in light of the emerging trends in the market. So this roundtable discussion will go on, and probably, let's say in a month or two, there may be another kind of online NAPSWI gathering, and we can come up with something, and that will be placed on the NAPSWI website. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Shahid. Now I invite Professor Sanjay Rai, sir, who is the Vice President of NAPSWI, as a guest of honor. Sir, please come again and please, share few words with us.
Thank you, Asuma. Respected dignitaries on the dais, of the dais, I hope nobody is leave on the behind. We are all ahead. It was wonderful conference till now. I must give my thanks as a vice president, as a president. Is not there. Is not. Is unable. Is sleeping in the guest house. So on behalf of NAPSWI, I must thank his Fibra. So on behalf of NAPSWI, he is taking rest. So on behalf of NAPSWI, I must thank to UNFPA, special grant given to MANUU and also MANUU. And also I must thank to all the students, the team member of Professor Shahid, because they have done wonderful, and I think one of the best campus we have seen, the clean and green campus. The title was very unique in the sense social work is very challenging profession. So challenging in the sense always we fight for something, fight for justice, fight for inequality, fight for injustice, what is happening in the society. So as well as social work also is a rewarding profession. So therefore, friends, if you want, especially for students, if you want to be like a sun, आप सूरज की तरह बनना चाहते हो, तो सूरज की तरह जलना भी सीखना पड़ेगा. So social work that gives that values and ethics, and we try to follow those values and ethics, and that is our profession, and we imbibe those values. So in social work, basically it's an emerging profession. Every day we're emerging something. Like today we have discussed the definition. Many things are coming. Many things should be behind. So what I feel as an educator, आपको अच्छा देखने के लिए नहीं है, अच्छा बनने के लिए जीना चाहिए. And social work gives you that value, that essence. So, friends, I'll not speak much because the time is very short. But at the validity, it's at the end time. At the end of this conference seminar, we come across with very many friends. We build many relations. We exchange our ideas. So, and that platform gives us many things coming days, and we assemble those ideas and try to act and react and proact in future. So what I learned from here as an educator, as a NAPSWI member, कुछ रिश्ते अनजाने में बन जाते हैं, पहले दिल से फिर जिंदगी में जुड़ जाते हैं. कहते हैं उस दौड़ को दोस्ती जिसमें अनजाने ना जाने कब अपने बन जाते हैं. तो मेरे साथ बहुत लोग अनजाने, बहुत लोग मेरे फ्रेंड बन चुके हैं. तो मुझे लगता है यही एसेंस है, यही ब्यूटी ऑफ एनी कॉन्फ्रेंस. एंड थैंक यू फॉर प्रोफेसर शाहिद for giving us wonderful platform here, and hopefully next year also we'll go another good place where we can have another new title with new enthusiasm. So thank you so much. Thank you, respected dais on the and of the dais. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite our second guest of honor, Dr. Ajay Khera, who is the country representative of an organization which is an international organization called Engender Health. India. Sir, please welcome.
Yeah, dear guest on the dais and dear friends, the audience, first of all, greetings to all of you on behalf of Engender Health, and very good afternoon to all of you. Now, on behalf of Engender Health, I want to convey my greetings. And Engender Health is an organization which is a global organization, works in the space of gender equality, and we have a vision of a gender equal world. And we also work in the space of sexual and reproductive health and rights, which, as you are all aware, there is a global commitment for universal access to the sexual and reproductive health. And another, the important, I will also like to convey my thanks to the organizer for inviting me to be the part of this valedictory session, which is being organized by the Maulana Azad University, Urdu University, and also the National Association of Professional Social Work in India, and also the UNFPA. I was looking at the theme of the conference, and the theme of the conference, as everybody is fully aware in the last 3 days, that leaving no one behind. I think leaving no one behind is the agenda which everyone is talking, particularly in the context of sustainable development goals. There are a large number of commitments, whether in the space of education, whether in the space of health, or poverty reduction, gender equality. I think there are number of goals where there are global commitments, and the India has also made commitment that we really want to achieve these, and that's only possible with this particular theme, that is leaving no one behind. And particularly the kind of the work which the social scientists, the social researchers are doing, they can always help us in finding out which are the people on the margins, which are those marginalized populations, and that's only possible by a dedicated work by people like you, who work in this space of social work, you work in the community. You can only help us in identifying the problem, identifying the challenges, and you can also help us in finding out the solutions. Only then we'll be able to achieve. And as you know that in terms of gender equality, we are quite far away. I don't know how many people are aware that as per the projections, it will take around 130 years to achieve the gender equality. And we have been talking about gender in equal world, gender discrimination. I think lot of things are being talked about for the last many years. But the way things are progressing, it will take 130 years. I mean, that's the projection. So there are kind of a number of challenges which the social scientists can really help us in addressing, whether they are around education or even within the health. If you talk about whether it is tuberculosis, whether it is non-communicable disease in the form of a cancers, one can, by your real in-depth social analysis, you can really find out what are those risk factors, why people are getting the particular ailment. And you also must be aware that just by health interventions, we are not going to get the real outcome on health. And as per the available information, around 40 to 50% of the interventions which are outside health can help in improving the health outcomes. That's why, people keep talking about, social determinant of health. And social determinant is a big chunk. It is not 1%, it is around 40%. That means, and in order to understand those social determinants, I think the science of social work can really help us in identifying those determinants. And because these determinants are very dynamic in nature, they are not static. The populations are changing, the people's habits are changing, the social norms are changing, and as you know that urbanization, migration, industrialization, these are the things which are really kind of, the making the, social determinants change over a period of time. That means the science of social work is a continuous investment. And actually, I was so excited to see so many people in the space of social work, doing community work, and I could also listen to number of presentations, whether they were around mental health, whether they were around prisons, or whether they were around the adolescent and youth population. So there are a number of challenges which has been highlighted, and people have made a presentation. And I was looking at the kind of the energy and the passion which the Department of Social Work has. I happened to interact with the Delhi School of Social Work maybe around 20-25 years back when I was in a medical college. But I don't see a kind of a formal kind of connect. To my understanding, I may be wrong, that most of the school of social work, they have energy, they have potential, they have passion, they know their job very well, but somehow I think they have not been mainstreamed. I think it's a fault of maybe our fault, but I think we can make this as a platform to take it forward, at least, because whatever knowledge you are gaining while making the field work, it should be appropriately utilized. It should not remain within the four walls of the universities. And maybe I think I was talking to Dr. Nilesh, and we thought we can think about, creating a network of the School of Social Works. I know that most of those social workers who pass out from these universities, organization, they are part of the international organization. They are doing a wonderful work, whether they are working in the UNFPA, whether they are working in gender health, or for that matter, WHO, or many organizations, international organizations, they are working. They are doing a wonderful job. But these universities, I think, could be a great source. It could be an extra resource which is available, which can really help us in, understanding the policy, making policy modifications, and even trying to give us a direction that in which direction we need to move. We keep talking about social norm change. But if we have a study of one village or two villages, you can't generalize that. So there are challenges. That's why I think unity is a strength. And I think this School of Social Work is not a new arrival in the system. They are there for last many, many decades. The only thing is bringing them together, channelizing their energy. And I think it could be a wonderful. And then we can develop a kind of a connect with the government. So that means whatever research work, field work you are doing, it has to be connected with the needs of the present government. Suppose, the present government says that we want to give priority. I don't know how many people are available, I'm aware that tuberculosis is a big problem, and the government of India has made commitment of, eliminating tuberculosis. I think we as a social work, the universities, join hands and try to find out what are the issues, because tuberculosis is not only a medical problem, there are social problems. And I don't want to, count those reasons, but there are plenty of social reasons behind tuberculosis and for many, many other things as well. So I think there is a real potential and the scope. That's why the second thing, the point which you have said, revisiting pedagogy, and then even the practice of social work. I think the practice of social work has to be really relevant to the needs of the country, needs of the situation. And I think it could be very special input to the government, and they can really, take this in a positive way for achieving our, sustainable development goal. And last but not the least, I thought of, making a mention, but there was a special theme around adolescent and youth, and everybody keeps talking, adolescent and youth is a kind of, it's a kind of, demographic dividend. I think we must encash it. And as you know, that India is the youngest population, and this is the right opportune that we must, use that particular demographic dividend. And we understand the various needs of this particular age group, whether in terms of, there was a mention about suicides in the schools. I mean, there is a mention about alcoholism in Pondicherry. I think there are a number of challenges, whether in terms of early marriages. I know that there is a great news in India that adolescent marriages in the country, early child marriages, has reduced by 50%. It used to be 50%, 48%. Now it has become 23%. I mean, marriage before 18 years of age. But even if you look at this 23%, you can understand that, every fourth girl is getting married before 18 years of age. I think it's a real issue. And if the girls get married early, their education gets affected, their employment gets affected, and their, financial empowerment gets affected. I think their whole life gets impacted. And this cycle of so-called the gender inequality continues. I think there are kind of, important areas which we must work on, and maybe, think of, maybe talking about eliminating, adolescent pregnancy, And there are kind of, there are a number of examples, and we all as a social scientists can sit together and come up with a strategy, and we can declare, as India as a country where no adolescent pregnancy is seen. As on today, we have around 6 or 7%, but if you convert them into numbers, it roughly says, 2 million pregnancies are happening to, it's like, baby bearing a baby, because they are not mature physically, mentally, but they are carrying the pregnancy and the kind of complication they lead. I think we need to work together on those issues. And then the second, the important point, which is also not given adequate attention, particularly keeping, adolescent youth population in mind, something called gender-based violence, or maybe, gender disparity. Actually, gender-based violence is nothing but an extreme form of gender disparity. And gender inequality, I already gave you a reference that how far we away from that gender equality, I think if we really want to make social norm change around gender, the right age group is the adolescent and the youth. I think you as a social scientist, if you can help us in understanding what are those social barriers, and then we can come up with a strategy which can really help, and it could have a real kind of a long drawn impact. Because addressing gender disparity at a later age, our minds are set, your social norms are set. Adolescent and youth is the period, where your norms are getting set. So if you really want to make a real dent, please use that opportunity. I mean, these are a few thoughts I have in mind, but I am really thrilled and impressed to be part of this gathering. And thank you very much, the organizer, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, friends, today we are really fortunate to have Professor Surendra Jaiswal from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, who has been instrumental in leading the social work fraternity and caravan in the country through her institutional and academic contribution. So I humbly request Professor Surendra Jaiswal to please come and deliver her valedictory address. Thank you. Welcome.
Many thanks, Shahid Raza. I'm a teacher, so I need papers, I need a pen, and I need to be able to talk a little bit. At the outset, I want to begin by saying how happy I am to be at the 11th NAPSWI Congress. I did not think many years ago, when the first Congress, Dr. Bhatt, was organized, that we would reach this milestone of the 11th Congress and an 11th Congress at MANUU, which has been, I would say, reached the pinnacle. The different sessions that we all heard, not just in the report, but which we all experienced by interacting, engaging with the diverse presentations, the range of papers, the technical parallel sessions, the round tables, the debates and discussions around in the space outside over tea or outside the guest house. We were all just congregating in order to engage and meet and discuss. And I think that is the success of the Congress. Excellent. Before mixing it with other matters, I said this is something which really comes from the heart. I'm very, very pleased, and therefore congratulations to the NAPSWI team as well as to the host department and all the students who have helped to make this the success it is. Professor Shagufta Shaheen from MANUU, Dr. Nilesh Deshpande, Dr. Ajay Khera, Professor Mohammad Shahid Raza, Professor Sanjay Roy. I'm not sure if I've left anybody here. Dr. Bhatt, my colleagues, Shahjahan, Dr. Bipin Jojo, other colleagues whom I've met over the last day and felt very, very happy and pleased. And of course, all the students who are present here. My pleasure to be both invited to this Congress and to share with you a few thoughts. At the outset, I will first apologize that I'm a teacher, so I will speak a little seriously, bear with me. Towards the end, I will try and be a little more casual, a little bit more communicative, like Dr. Khera and all spoke from the heart. And it echoed because I have a public health and public mental health background, so I could really understand where he was coming from and the role that all of us can play. I want to begin by taking a closer look at some of the key factors in light of the current global scenario and its impact on all countries and situations, particularly 3 years after COVID, which has had a huge impact when we talk about the byline of leave or leaving no one behind and revisiting social work pedagogy and practice. And I want to touch quickly, I've tried to keep it brief on 4 to 5 points, and then move to what I call the serious part of the deliberation. I'll try and keep it brief, where we'll talk about what is it therefore that we can do or we should be doing. The first is current context for social work practice. The world is becoming, as we all know, increasingly polar. Over recent years, we see that an increasingly fracturing world has faced challenges from a succession of crises, such as economic, climate change, COVID, conflict, etc. We see a growing polarization of global and domestic inequities, because leaving no one behind in India cannot happen in isolation. We have to look at the world as a whole, see our location and space, and what is it that we need to address. So we see a growing polarization of global and domestic inequities and challenges to rights and representation amidst a growing populist politics of exclusion. And these have contributed to further marginalization of already vulnerable populations and communities. I don't need to say this to this audience because they're all aware about it. At the global level, we see that various contexts have made us realize the importance of what is popularly called the triple nexus, or the humanitarian, development, and peace nexus. The Russia-Ukraine crisis, the Hamas-Palestine crisis, has reiterated the significance of focusing on this triple nexus of humanitarian, peace, and development, because they cannot happen in isolation. And all these actors must work together in order to prevent and address the root causes of vulnerability while meeting humanitarian needs, supporting resilience, and building the long-term capacities of affected populations. So mere service and responding to a need in isolation will not take us far. We need to look at the whole. The aim of the triple nexus is for humanitarian, development, and peace actors to work together towards a set of similar outcomes in a multi-year planning process, when possible and appropriate, grounding this approach in the comparative advantages of each actor to make their collective response more coherent, efficient, and effective. Even though the lines between development, humanitarian response, and peace building are theoretically unambiguous, it is often not the case in reality, especially for people affected by crisis. People do not experience their needs in a compartmentalized or sequential manner, but rather they can experience a need for humanitarian assistance at the same time as peace and development activities. We know that we can't do one and then think, should we do another? They have to happen in a parallel manner. The second point I want to emphasize is the economic justice. And I'm going to do full justice to my gender. The COVID-19 pandemic triggered seismic shifts in the global economic landscape and exacerbated the many injustices the marginalized communities face. Since then, the pandemic has sparked crises of care, health, and social protection, felt most acutely in fragile and conflict-affected contexts by the most vulnerable. So if it was Mumbai, it would be our so-called slum dwellers or low-income settlements, people living in unregistered settlements, people in the Sundarbans living at the fringe of the waters, all of them who are at the forefront. Various studies during COVID highlighted that women and girls shoulder the bulk of paid and unpaid care work. While COVID-19 crisis has drawn significant attention to women's role as paid workers in formal healthcare systems, a large part of the work that goes into maintaining the health and well-being of children, older persons, and other family members is provided on an unpaid basis, even in normal times. Unpaid care and domestic work sustains families and communities on a day-to-day basis and from one generation to the next, and makes a significant contribution to economic development by nurturing people who are fit, productive, and capable of learning and creativity. So the productive age group, it supports it. Yet it remains that unpaid work which is happening behind the scenes remains invisible, undervalued, and neglected in economic, social policy making. And its distribution is grossly imbalanced. Much more in those who have less resources, less in those who have better resources. Globally, women do 3 times as much unpaid care and domestic work as men. We need more sustained investments in gender-responsive social protection and care systems. Just to share with you, we thought that COVID-19 would increase the number of women in paid work or in the workforce. But unfortunately, it has lowered it. Today, we are in the world, the lowest number of women in work, in the workforce is 24%. And I'm not even sure if it's really 24%, but it has definitely decreased. And this is a point for concern, and it talks about inequity. So when we talk about leave no one behind, we are pushing them again into invisible, unpaid care work. So the COVID-19 pandemic provided important opportunities for feminist economic justice and advocates to strengthen the heterodox economic policy discourse that centers the care economy and creates an enabling macroeconomic environment for the fulfillment of women's rights and gender equality. These openings led to increased alignment and coordination across movements. We in our country know about different movements, whether it is the health movement, whether it is other collective movements from the ground up. So during COVID, all of this received a large push. So movements on transformative economic agendas and renewed efforts to push for policy gains that advance feminist principles. While important gains were achieved in that regard, especially within certain regional institutions and in certain parts of the world like Latin America, feminist literature and civil society research indicates that global economic institutions and fora, the platforms, largely fell short and failed to integrate these feminist principles in their pandemic responsive measures, which has in turn contributed to more constrained fiscal environments that undermine the ability of policymakers at the national level, especially in our end of the world, or what is popularly called the global south, to implement feminist economic policies. I hope some of you now will be a little more empathetic to the fact that I raised my voice earlier about women not being represented in some forums. So engendering economic policy is very, very important, particularly in Asia and our part of the world. The third one, which we all work on as social workers, but is grossly neglected, even in my parent institute, Tata Institute, where I speak a lot about it, where we tried setting up a department for it, but it didn't happen. Climate justice and resilience. Climate adaptation and resilience is emerging as a pressing concern. A UNICEF 2021 report, a recent one called Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability, states that children in India are amongst the most at risk to the impacts of climate change, threatening their health, education, and protection. Climate change is impacting India's natural environment, economy, and society with increased frequency and intensity. I just had to drive into Hyderabad last night and I could see the change. The Hyderabad I had seen in the 70s, in the 90s, a decade later, and today. You can see the impact there itself. Heat waves, floods, monsoons, and declining groundwater reserves are some of the extreme challenges that we as a country are facing today. The increasing frequency of such disasters is felt most by the local communities inhabiting India's climate frontiers, areas that are more susceptible to climate-related disasters. A climate-induced refugee crisis from bordering nations such as Bangladesh. Some of our colleagues who are here from Assam today know about what happens when the Brahmaputra floods. And it's the only father river because of the force with which it travels. It takes away land, it throws people, makes them homeless year after year. And that happens not only in this part of the country, but also in Bangladesh, and you find a lot of movement taking place. So while internal migration and losses to livelihoods are already occurring because of these extreme weather conditions, how is India tackling climate change? Question we need to ask. I have a few small responses. Social work interventions have focused on climate resilience, disaster risk reduction, locally led adaptation, early warning, early action, climate resilient agriculture. We are having these models across the country in small and big ways. These have supported communities to prepare, respond to, and recover from climate shocks, build thriving, sustainable livelihoods, and restore loss and damage. Overall, social work as a discipline we all need to reflect on issues of social justice in a more robust manner. हिंदी में robust को क्या कहेंगे शाहिद? Robust, सशक्त, in a more robust manner. हम बम्बईया हिंदी वाले हैं. Robust. That is strength. Kathor is other extreme. So to reflect on issues of social justice in a robust, more robust manner, there is need for new ways of thinking and practice around social justice issues. Social work has a commitment to promote and achieve social justice, as said by the Council of Social Work Education in 2015, and there is consensus that social justice is a core value and mission which underpins all levels of services at the micro, meso, and macro. Implications, my second last point, for social work research. This is brief because I can go on for days on this. My colleagues know about it. Social work research needs to further unpack the gendered impacts of macroeconomic trends in social work research. It needs to unpack macroeconomic trends. Social work research can highlight the importance of engendering economic policy, which I spoke about, and social protection, and it can develop our knowledge base and feed into advocacy efforts. Research and climate justice, too, need a greater focus on adopting gender justice lens and needs to recognize the interconnectedness between climate crisis and exacerbated gender inequalities in order to feed into knowledge systems about gender transformative approaches to climate resilience. We also need more research which looks at climate change and loss and damage from a gender lens, particularly intersectional lens. All women are not homogeneous, are not the same. We know that the intersectionality, particularly with regard to gender, beyond even women, is huge, and it is something that needs to be addressed. I want to say here, I had a quick look at what is the scenario on the ground for social work. So I looked at Shodh Ganga. All of you know that our doctoral research is uploaded. The day it is submitted, accepted after the Viva, it is uploaded onto Shodh Ganga. I did a quick search to see how many theses are there. Now, Shodh Ganga was founded actually only in 2011 by InflibNet. So it's a recent site. But theses have been uploaded after being digitalized over a period of time. So almost all theses which were available for digitalization are up there. Of the 4 lakh theses which are up there, 1,355 responded to the keywords of social work, intervention, methods, etc., related to social work. Because sometimes, you need to go beyond social work to look at. Of that, only 21 theses had anything related to interventions, whether it was method related, fieldwork related, practicum related. And of this also, the majority of the 21 were on social work education, where you go and interview educators and ask their opinion about social work. They were not really interventions where you initiate an intervention, you study it, like you do a baseline and then you do an end line so that you have data you can understand from, even if it's a 6-month or 1 year or 2 year period of time. So knowledge generation by this huge fraternity, particularly that percentage whose business, yours and mine, is to organize and produce knowledge, that is missing, or that is very, very superficial and fundamental. And Shodh Ganga, meaning looking at doctoral thesis, which is from across the country, and almost 1355, there may be 1400 if a few were missed or whatever, of which only 21. Of the 21, only actually 7 to 8 were interventions. The rest were all talking about education in isolation. So social work education, my last point here, social justice is recognized as a core value of social work, and justice-oriented social work has roots, as we all know, in the early history of the profession. One of our speakers was saying that, I think Dr. Khera was saying, that we must have been around as a profession for some time. We're here for 87 years in terms of professionally trained social workers from institutions recognized and certified by the government. So we've been here for almost 9 decades. So justice-oriented social work has roots in the early history of the profession. However, defining social justice and determining what constitutes key domains of social justice-oriented practice and education, as we did in the roundtable today, have been topics of debate. Not only in your roundtable, they have been points of debate among scholars. Ambiguities, tensions exist about the meaning of social justice and the most appropriate theoretical approach for justice-oriented social work. There are also challenges in translating conceptualizations of social justice and into practice. Although social research was a method of promoting social justice in the early settlement houses, contemporary guidance is limited on using social work research as a tool for promoting social justice. So I did another quick search. I'm a data person. I don't want to speak just off kind of make a statement without having some data to back it. I looked at what is out there in terms of what did I do? I lost my train of thought in talking to you all. Contemporary guidance is limited on using social work research as a tool for promoting social justice. I did another search, but the purpose of the search is what I'm trying to connect to the point which I was making. Yes. So in that, I looked at what was it that earlier knowledge explored and what change has happened over a period of time in the profession. So knowledge is knowledge, but context defines knowledge or forms knowledge or frames knowledge. And you and I are framed by that context. Our guides, our students are framed by it. I realized that if you look at topics in the early period of the profession, much of it was on institutions, single topics, looking at service orientation and so on. It is only post-2005. I looked at 4 or 5 things. What is the focus of the thesis on social work implications in certain years? What kind of theory building has taken place in the thesis, or at least a discussion? Ethical considerations. Are you conscious of the pillars of ethical frame that you are supposed to follow when you work with people? Policy planning. Are you thinking in terms of how is what I have worked on going to lead to policy change? Interestingly, most of these were no in the early years. It was only from 2005 and much more from about 2011 that we find theory building and policy planning in almost all the theses which from diverse institutions are being put up. Now, to a smaller or greater degree, some better, some not so well, but it is there. Methodologies. You and I are trained in working with people. We know how to explore. We know how to understand, how to engage with different communities. But the initial thesis for almost 30, 40 years mainly used the quant frame, which is descriptive and which begins with a set of questions which you go with and where you're not necessarily, your participants are not your participants, but they're respondents. In the later years, we find we went to a mixed method, and lately there is much more focus on the qualitative, to the point where we are saying, please go back to mixed methods, don't do only qualitative, because understanding, analyzing, and writing about it is very difficult. So we find social research as a method for promoting social justice in the early settlement houses. Contemporary guidance was limited on using research as a tool. Lately, it has definitely picked up, whether it's at the master's level or at the doctoral level. There are also ambiguities about the best pedagogy for teaching about social justice in social work education programs. I wish there was a little more work on this. Globally, only 15. I could only come for one method. If I look at group work, which I've taught for many years, only 15 writings peer-reviewed in Scopus, of which one was Indian, the others were non-Indian. So there is so much to write on, because I know all schools of social work are innovating, experimenting with pedagogy, using different methods, using different forms, but we are not writing about it, which means we are neither capturing nor improving nor able to understand how they address our core values of social justice. We need greater reflection on how to expand the conversation and reflection in the discipline regarding how to include climate justice, gender justice, and environmental justice in social work education. We need greater reflection on how to align social work education and training with social justice. My last point for today, I think the time has come for us to understand that setting of agendas and collaborations are key to making things happen. If you look at our dais today, we have both. We had a set of agendas being presented by those who spoke with us, very clear on the fact that, this is what we should be doing. Collaborations, as in all of us are not from the same discipline or profession, though we share the common value of social justice, which is why we are here, all of us. What it shows us is that if we do not come together, if interdisciplinarity, if multidisciplinarity is not the way forward after you gain in your own profession and understand and skill in it, you will not be able to address the real life problems of this world. This world doesn't live in silos. Problems don't happen in silos. As early as the 1990s, Lina Dominelli, whom you all know as social work educators, a very renowned and well-respected educator, when she was the editor for International Social Work, an eminent journal, she wrote that as we step into the 21st century, she and Simon Hackett, the two of them were editing International Social Work, she wrote that the three sisters in social work, which is IASSW, International Association of Schools of Social Work, the International Federation of Social Workers, and the ICSW, the three sisters, when they came together, they were able to set agendas which could then reach the larger bodies, whether it is the UN, whether it is the WHO, etc., in order to both convey what we understand and what we think is important and push for policy change. They were also able to highlight and visibilize local realities with social workers through these associations. Our representatives were able to take further onto platforms which went from the local to the global. And you know that if any change has to happen finally on a sustained manner in your system or in your structure at the local level, it has to come from a veto from up there. You can struggle, you can demonstrate, you can innovate. But if you are to upscale and if you are to bring about sustained change, you need to join hands with those who have the resources, who have all that is required in order to push for that change. Somebody mentioned ICPD earlier, I think either you or Shahid. We were able to, women's health used to be maternal health. There was nothing like women's health. You go to a hospital, you had a gynecology department. You didn't have a women's department, automatically excluding young girls, single women from coming for services. Only when you were a mother, maternal, and your child's health was at stake, you could, in a sanctioned, bona fide way, seek, kind of services. Actually, you weren't prevented, but our community beliefs, our cultural norms were barriers or impediments to it. It was only when 180 countries of the world signed the ICPD that all the health policies of these 180 countries shifted the focus to women's health. And we in India went a step further, where the health policy became the reproductive health policy, which the feminists actually disagreed with, but they didn't know the reasons why it had been done. So what I'm trying to say is that unless we collaborate, unless we come together, unless we go beyond the boundaries of our own profession, you can do that only if you strengthen your own boundaries. And then if you set agendas which you mutually come together and derive, only then can you work towards that vision of realizing social justice for the most marginalized, vulnerable, and excluded, and leave no one behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Surendra Jaswal, for proposing very prominent and key propositions with regard to social work education practice. Now, I invite our chief guest today, who is Dr. Nilesh Deshpande from UNFPA India, who has been really one of the key figures in the partnership with MANUU. So I humbly request him to please come and
Thank you very much, MANUU, for collaboration, and also NAPSWI for approaching us. And this is a total new dimension for UNFPA to start collaboration and work with. And we are looking forward to it. So first of all, let me take this opportunity to thank Professor Shahid Saab and entire team. I think today, you will need much more rest, and next 2-3 days, your team needs much more rest. I know how much efforts have gone behind this. So we know a couple of faces, but I know there are many people behind it. And thank you so much for this. Esteemed dignitaries on dais. So I'm not really coming in from social science background, but we work in that sector, and I'm a clinician, but trained management professional and public health professional. So I will bring, I'm not having those kind of lenses, but more of a pragmatic when we look at social work and how it's the professionals we work with in the field. And I'm really thrilled to be here for the last 3 days and listen and really understand what social work and what social work education means, and what are different aspects coming in. And I must say, social work professionals are backbone to the development. And I think please acknowledge that and be proud of that, because I think during last 3 days, I was hearing we are nowhere there, we are not there. And I think that's where, unless and until you hold that pride in your own profession, nobody else is going to have pride in you. I think that's the key, and that's where I think if you see 9 decades, we are here, you are here, but still we are struggling to establish our own identity and course, because there was a lot of discourse which was happening, whether we are at master's level social work or what is it. So I think if you are thinking this as a professional profession, then it has to be at all levels, be it at a bachelor's level, be it at master's levels, and at doctor's level. So I think that we really need to figure out. And then I think the other learning, and I think I am talking about from my last 3 days interaction and also some past thing, there were a lot of things where we said this course is for someone who doesn't either has some personal experience or don't want to do anything. I think that should not be the case. And I think there was big discourse now, CUET and creamy layer coming in or toppers coming in. So I think we really need to understand if this course needs to, so if it's is valued course like a doctor, like an engineer, like a public health professional, then everybody should be aspirant. That's how I think this course will strive and thrive. And people will aspire, and I think there would be students and then pedagogy and everything. Means I was listening, the struggle, still we are not getting to get national council available for this. So I think that shows why this is not, because we are seeing ourselves as someone who's really not there. So I think that's something where I would like to draw attention of association. How do we really put this profession as a profession, valued profession, and also motivate those brainy who are currently looking at engineering, IIM, IITs to also think of social. I want to be a social worker. I want to adopt that profession. And I think that's when I think something which I would like to draw attention to. I think, and then still we are still figuring out what's our scope, where are we? So I think it's really high time for us to define what social work education means and what's the gamut of social work really means. I think because last 3 days I was listening and most of us were like looking at public like health, quote unquote. That's the arena where social work is seen pertinent, and I think currently even social work falls under that council of allied health. And so I think I see social work, and I think Sanjay sir has already told me social work is not just for health. Social work are working in diverse settings. But when we are just seeing very small arena for social work and social work dimension. So I would like to see how do we really place social work not just for health, but any social development program, be it agriculture, be it rural development, be it education, be it nutrition. I think all of them need social worker. Now, I think in education, a lot of private schools are taking social worker as a professional to guide and help work with the students. So I think really that needs to be really seen how we are looking at social work. And I think that I felt we really need. The other important thing which I think I would like to, it will be a little difficult to digest, but again, we are seeing again NGO as the space for social work and social workers as opportunities to work with. I again urge you not to really think that's the only space. And we were worried, in shrinking space of NGOs, where will we go and whether we will be relevant in coming days. Please look at outside world. There are a lot of government departments, there are a lot of donors and other agencies which are really opening up doors for social work and social work professionals. So it's not just CSOs, and I think we really need to break that mindset that if NGO is not there, then who is going to give me job or opportunity? And I think that's somewhere I want to. So when we were looking at pedagogy and this main topic, I think social development priorities and issues, as everybody was talking, have evolved over the time. And now we totally have very different priorities, very different skill sets which are required for the social worker or professional to go out and deliver. So I think it's very important for us to really look at what are those roles and responsibilities expected when you take up social work profession or education, and then design pedagogy or curricula which will help you acquire those skills to go out and take up jobs in diverse setting rather than just looking. So I think it's important for our profession to also look at what is market asking for. I think that is something which we are not really looking when we are really thinking of pedagogy or and other things. So when we are talking leave no one behind. So yesterday, on very first day, there was a very pertinent question asked. Are our students really equipped to work with those who are left behind or work on inclusion kind of thing? Are their students ready to go and work with people living with HIV/AIDS? Are there people, or how many of you would be comfortable going and working with sex workers? Because there are a lot of norms. So are we really equipping and skilling through our education to these students to take up these kind of jobs which are available, but the organizations struggle to find those kind of students to come and work with them? or even field-based jobs? Are we really equipping them? Because today, what I am finding when we interview and advertise, I think, positions, field-based position, none of the students, the fresh grads, are ready to take up and learn field reality first. So are we really, are our curricula helping them to understand, go and learn from field and then go to higher positions? They directly now wants either state level positions, national positions, and then I think that disconnect happens. So, but it's our pedagogy and our, I think, course which is telling them or not equipping them to go and do the field work kind of thing. Third important point which I would like to highlight is, like, there was a big discourse happening during last 3 days and there were papers. I think different components of your social work education, like one is curricula, one is field work, one is, I think it's time for us to really not see these as a different component, but as an integral part, because I feel social work is not knowledge based work, or social work profession is not knowledge based. Just knowledge is going to help you work and deliver. It's more of an action oriented or skill based work, where if you know how to work in community, what are their sentiments, how do you handle, then only you can really go and deliver. So I think that's something we will have to see, whether our pedagogy or curricula, when we are going to revisit and revise or even deliberate, then how do you really see, like, teaching, for example, proposal writing. It's not about just telling them this is how proposal is written, but if you are asking them, these are steps, and every step they are saying, asking them to choose your topic of interest to write a proposal on, and they continue with every step. And that's, I think that's the difference between Indian education system and international education system, where they will give you 2 lectures but ask you to work 20 hours to deliver that very small assignment. So I think if we are looking at revising pedagogy and equipping our future students really to stay strong and take those prestigious positions, then we will have to consider investing in their life skills or critical, like these different skills which will help them acquire those skills to deliver on different topics. Just a second, I'm covered couple of points I'm referring to. And then the quality one, like the other issue which came, like, and I was little surprised, every institution is left to decide what they are going to teach under social work. And I think unless we have that kind of council, the basic credit course is there, but then there are a lot of variations, and that's what I understood. But like, if we really want to look at pedagogy or improving standards, I think first foremost, how do we establish that council which defines at least basic structure, and then additional courses or other things can come in play, and then they can deliver on that. The second concern which was highlighted by a lot of deliberations, like social work education schools or institution lack resources and manpower to handle so diverse profile. So I think it's not necessary, I feel like it's not necessary for all schools to offer so many diversities or different electives. We can also decide, okay, I am ready, I have this bandwidth, and I can specialize myself or offer a specialized course on particular MSW in maternal health or MSW in climate change, that kind of thing. And the students who are interested in doing masters in climate change, they can come to your university and take that specialized course. So I think those kind of solutions we will have to find, rather than, and the bigger institutions like Tata Institute or Jamia or MANUU have bandwidth, they can offer diverse range of specialities. And I think that's something which I thought like is quite important. Okay. And then certificate courses. I think like if we are offering a core course, then there could be certificate courses and not necessarily maybe like if a student is studying in X institute, there is certificate course offered by some other, as ma'am was saying earlier, like we need to collaborate and converge. So I think different social science the social work education institution can collaborate and promote. If this course is not available with us, you are still studying with us, but this certificate course can be taken by from Jamia, and we'll still consider validation of that. So it's leveraging each other's resources. How do you really do that kind of networking, form collaborations between different social work or social workers education? I think that will help you address a lot of problems in terms of and lastly, I would like to see, because we are talking of pedagogy, so and then I was even listening to a lot of presentations and deliberations by either educators or researchers. So I think it's very important that we train them on different pedagogies and how to really present and how to, because use different pedagogical methods, because many a times I think they may not really have those skills, because as ma'am said, like group work was only one, but there are so many things which are available to be used across the globe. And I think like if we are like, anticipating those to be used, then I think we really need to design courses for educators to actually use those methods more effectively in delivering them. Because many a times I saw, if you're and that was quite evident, the teachers are used to use lecture modality and not engaging modality. So I think and that was quite evident even during the conference. So I think we really need to see how do we really invest in building those skills. And again, like to close my remarks by saying, like, let's join hand and try and see how we can have a very strong advocacy at different levels to ensure your council is put in place. How can we bring the glory to social work profession back? I think they are really critical in triggering local solutions, local change, local development. So I think we cannot have really highly like everywhere very specialized cadre coming in, but like really if this cadre is strengthened and like valued, I think that is going to be like quite changer and continue, like, and so that these social work students can also adopt and handle emerging trends quite effectively if our pedagogy and other thing effective. So thank you very much again, and thank you, Professor Shahid, for wonderful efforts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Nilesh, for your very insightful commentary on the overall situation of social work education practice in India. We are really thankful to you that you came and you have engaged. You have been with us for 3 days. Now, on behalf of our university, so we are moving towards the end of this valedictory session. Now, I humbly request Professor Shagufta Shaheen, who is OSD 1, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, to please come for the presidential remarks.
Adab, good afternoon. I thank Professor Shahid for inviting me to give the valedictory address. But I would have preferred, Professor Shahid, had you not invited me as a OSD, but as a representative of the English department. Because we all know, like I think Dr. Nilesh Deshpande also was saying that social work is not the domain of only the social work department. We in the Department of Literature also get involved in the teaching or getting engaged with social work. Most of the topics of research at PhD level have to do with social work in terms of marginalization of classes, gender, cancer support system, depression, These are some of the gerontology, these are some of the topics that we deal in the Department of Humanities. So we cannot say that social work is the domain of only to be, social work or NGOs or to be taught at university. It is everybody's domain. Every culture, every society, every religion, I'm sure believes in imparting values. But then there is something that is going wrong in terms of going by the topic of the seminar, pedagogy and practice. Yes, there is a pedagogy in universities, in the society that live in the religion that we follow, that believes in social justice. But when it comes to practice, there is a problem. We need to introspect and see where we are going wrong as teachers, as educators, in terms of not transmitting the theory into practice. So social work theories are just being limited to theories and they are not being put into total practice. So I think we need to introspect not just the social work. I here feel that it is the entire society which needs to get into an introspect as to where we are going wrong as teachers, as policymakers, as educators. This could be, or one reason I feel could be the quality of education that has collapsed. It could be the scholarship which has taken a backseat, or also it could be the undue prominence that is being given to science, which has eroded half of the societal values, and very soon the promotion of artificial intelligence will do the rest. So are we all going to become robotic individuals without any emotion? Where society, where only it is technology, where it is only artificial intelligence which is going to prevail over humanity? I think this is a very important question, because if I truly believe if social sciences and humanities are neglected as they are being done, consciously or unconsciously, then we are moving towards a society which is totally automatic, which is totally mechanical. So we need to channelize and bring focus towards reading, inculcating an interest in reading, and as teachers ensure that it is an inclusive learning that happens. Literature, as we all see, because I am from the Department of Humanities, I feel that we are talking in terms of interdisciplinariness. So social work, humanities, and social sciences go hand in hand together. And talking about literature, the function of literature is not just aesthetic. We don't just enjoy a beautiful poem and leave it at it. We see to it that it has a didactic purpose. So every literature has a purpose. It has a social message. If you look back at world history, you find several revolutions have been caused by literature. You have the French Revolution, and you have Rousseau, you have Voltaire, you have the Romantic poets who brought about a revolution in society, about the injustice in society through their work. When it comes to American literature, we have Stove of Uncle Tom's Cabin, we have Tom Paine, who has brought about a change in society through their literature. If you look at Indian literature, you have, because the focus is on India, it is, Indian literature, like writers like Mulk Raj Anand, you have writers like Arundhati Roy, and you have writers like Tagore, who have addressed societal problems in their literature. Be it of class, be it of gender, be it of marginalization, whatnot. But they have been addressed. You have Jean's work from, if I remember it correctly, it is from dictatorship to democracy. It has brought a revolution in Arab called the Arab Spring. Jean has listed 108, if I remember, methods of bringing about social change through non-violent method. And in most of the trials that were held, it was the protesters were accused of following 100 of these, non-violent methods. So it is reading which has brought about a change in today's world, and we need to bring literature back into the, and I don't mean just English literature, it can be any literature which needs to be once again brought into focus so that you become more humane, become more relevant to society. So there is something that is reading, there is something that is called practice. So what you read is just not in terms of writing an exam and forgetting all about it. What you carry from the text that is being taught to you and put into practice, that is very, very important. So I would urge the social work practitioners and professors to please divert your mind through making your discipline more inclusive and involving all of us, and not just be very exclusive department and saying that you are just limited to a particular domain. We are all there with you, not just in terms of discipline, but also in terms of as humanity. This is what I have to say, and I would like to say, because I also believe that, when it comes to any problem, any crisis in life, we all turn to literature. Whether it was the French Revolution, whether it was the Second World War, whether it was the CAA, where again, Fez was called into reckoning. So I think we all need to turn to literature for all our answers. So I, end with a quote. हम परवरिश लौ और कलम करते रहेंगे, जो दिल पे गुजरती है रकम करते रहेंगे, असबाब गम इश्क बहम करते रहेंगे, वीरानी दौरान पे करम करते रहेंगे. एक तर्ज तगफुल है सो वो उनको मुबारक, एक अर्ज तमन्ना है सो हम करते रहेंगे. So we will all continue our strive to bring the social change in the society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. At the last of this session, I invite Professor Muhammad Shahid to please come and propose the formal vote of thanks. Organizing Secretary, 11 Indian Social Work Congress.
Thank you, Osama. Friends, let me take the help of Zygmunt Bauman, the expert of modernity, rather liquid modernity. He has written books like Liquid Modernity, Liquid Fear, Liquid Love. He says words have meanings. Some words have feelings. I hope audience present here will not count my words, rather will take into account my feelings. With that, I thank members on the stage, Professor Roy, Sanjay Roy, Shri Ajay Kheda ji, Ma'am Surinder Jaiswal, Nilesh ji, Professor Shagupta Shaheen, my colleague. As Professor Shagupta said, that we should not be so exclusive. We should take into account the literature. So let me start by saying that kahin to ho makhmali bistara aur kahin ek chatai bhi na ho. That's the unfortunate reality. I hope the deliberations, 3 days deliberations, must have helped us. But there were graffitis during French Revolution of May 1968. Walls, दीवारों के कान होते हैं. So walls have ears. This is how what we have heard of. Walls have ears, but our ears have walls. In terms of nature, these walls in our ears, these are porous. But our society, the social construction has made these more stronger than this RCC. I hope that's how our social conditioning is. Probably the discussion must have helped us to rethink, introspect, and reflect. Let me take this opportunity to thank NAPSWI, as I started in the day one, thanking Professor R.P. Dwivedi. He kept on asking around all these months, probably, Shahid ji, tan man dhan se main aapke saath hoon. And while I was coming for this valedictory, because he is having a temperature of 102 degree, Fahrenheit, not degree, Celsius, it's Fahrenheit. And he was really in tears, but I said, sir, you take rest. So I thank Professor Devedi, Professor Sanjay Bhatt, Professor Sanjay Roy, Professor Atul Pratap Singh, Professor Ankur Saxena, and whole team of NAPSWI executive for giving us this wonderful opportunity that in itself became a kind of sangam here at MANUU with the scholars and researchers and field practitioners from academic institutions, research institutions coming up together. I will only like to say as a mark of thanks to all those panelists, because this conference, 3 days conference is here for these past 3 days, but probably the preparations and also the conference proceeding or conference activities started quite early. And that's how Professor Jaswal, we also took up pre-conference lectures, and you know, we were able to have Professor Brij Mohan, Professor P.M. Garrett, Professor Dr. Chris Clark, and so is the case with n number of speakers in the plenary sessions. And that's how scholars were so much. I have to cut one plenary into 2 special sessions, because you can't say a plenary session when it is going at the same time parallel manner. So was the response with regard to technical sessions. There is one lesson to us. This response was not the response simply to MANUU or Muhammad Shahid. It was a response to the call for the profession. And that is where probably the NAPSWI and the NAPSWI leadership, and we all must take a lesson. And Surinder Jaswal has given a hint. When the 3 sisters come together and make a resolution, so I think in the same line we need to work. So with that thank and with that note, I think we should take a lesson. And to the general audience, the people who have come in n number, and you are the real participant and the real people who make the conference a success. And that's how the people in the technical sessions, they have presented the papers, they are here. Thankfully, the critical discussions have taken place in these plenary sessions, and thanks to our Instructional Media Center at MANUU, for all 3 days they have done continuous live streaming. The videos are recorded. These are now available in our web portal, what we call as IMC MANUU. You can Google it and you can approach. I think this is a food to take away, food for thought. It is a takeaway with you all. Keep going through those videos, rethink and restructure, and I hope that is where the lesson, particularly the people who are representing the department as head of the department, dean of the school, I think we can think on that lines. So I will be failing my duty if I fail to mention the many names, So apart from the scholars from outside the MANUU, our team at MANUU, whether it is Instructional Media Center, which has given a different color to this conference in terms of technology and support, so is the case with our team at the University Guest House. Thankfully, what happened interesting in this conference is that wheresoever we have approached, we got much more than we have anticipated. And it started with Nilesh Deshpande. And that's why we say the relationship UNFPA is not only about some support we call financial or support. No, it's much, much, much more than that. It's intellectual support. It's the kind of support which changes the thought. And that's how the theme, you say, we were sure to have this theme of revisiting pedagogy and practice of social work in India. But we were confronting. I was saying if you need pre-interval, we should have something different. Post-interval is fine. And that's how this leave no one behind come up. So I thank UNFPA. Similarly is the case within our university. We were thinking of organizing this cultural program and all this. Our cultural center come up. Our guest house, our state section, our electricians, our people from London Garden. And lastly, last but not the least, I don't know how I should say, my colleagues and the students at the department. I keep on saying, because as a teacher, the biggest asset, people say, Shai Sahib, you always appear to be very confident. I always say I have one single great asset with me, and those are my students. So thank you all my colleagues and my students at the Department of the Social Work, and you all. And before I close, I also welcome and thank 40 students and the faculty members who have come from the University of Kashmir. Their train got delayed. They have reached this morning only. So when we will be closing this session for the tea break, and as the collective thanks to you all, I will request all those who are not having their flight or train today evening, they will come back here to have some kind of interaction with the students from the University of Kashmir. So with this, I thank you all once again, everybody present here. As I said, don't count my words, so don't mind if I have not taken name, but do count my feelings that are here. And with that, I thank you all, and I think from here we will take a new beginning. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Professor Shahid. I don't think now there is anything left, but so I request, before I request the MANUU team, I am very much tempted to, to recite a share in Urdu, okay? So, लेकिन शगुफ्ता मैडम की शायरी के बाद कुछ बचा नहीं है फिर भी ये पुरखुलूस फिजाएं कहाँ मिलेंगी हफीज, ये पुरखुलूस फिजाएं कहाँ मिलेंगी हफीज, उठाना अहले मोहब्बत के दरमियां से मुझे. With this, I request IMC team to play the national anthem. After this, we'll disperse for the tea break, okay? And I also announce the end of this Congress. Thank you very much.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जन गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all.